Hi everyone, this is Britt Simon. So Twitter has blown up this morning um, with reporting about the actions that President Biden is expecting to take today, or we expect him to take today, I should say. So we need to talk about that because there is some suspicion that, and it's just a suspicion or a supposition that he's not going to actually remove the bans today. This is based on a fact sheet. I think if you were on the video yesterday, my Q&A yesterday, you probably heard me say that there was going to be a briefing released later on in the day. So there was a press briefing, live press briefing televised with Jen Psaki in the middle of the day. And in that meeting, she referenced the immigration actions due today a couple of times. Right at the end of the press briefing yesterday, she said there will be a briefing coming out, meaning to the reporters. And she didn't want to say exactly what was going to be in the briefing. And the briefing was to give hints about and to sort of lay out the foundation for what Joe Biden is planning to talk about today. Now, Joe Biden is the president of the USA. He doesn't want to stand up there like some sort of puppet and have nothing to say, right? So we can't expect that a press briefing would say everything that he's going to say. And so the briefing that was issued about 6 or 7 hours ago, the briefing that was issued and has been publicized has now been reported, and it doesn't say specifically what actions will be taken. Disappointingly, it talks about a review, and I'll talk about that in a few moments, a review as opposed to actions being taken on the public charge. So it seems to be a slight retraction from where Joe Biden has been over the last few days on public charge. A review is not the same as an action. A review means we're going to look into it. We're going to look into something. But it does talk about the legal immigration and so on. In fact, I can show you. I'll give you this link. Let me give you this link. Where are we? I'm going to put the link of the fact sheet that I'm discussing. And I'll show you, let me show you that. If I share my screen, this screen here. Okay, this is the fact sheet that I'm discussing. I'm hoping you're seeing that now. And it's a fact sheet that talks about, it sort of sets the groundwork, if you like, for why Joe Biden is going to take certain immigration actions today. It doesn't say specifically the president is going to do this, 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 and this, and it certainly doesn't say, as I hoped it probably should say, that he's going to take action on the immigration bans for immigration and non-immigrant visas, which is 10014 blocks legal immigration and 10052 blocks non-immigrant visas, right? Certain types of those. But I'm most interested in 10014, so that's what I'm talking about. So it doesn't list those out, but that's not surprising. That it doesn't list them out is not surprising because, as I say, the president doesn't want to be upstaged by a fact sheet or a press secretary or anyone else saying, here's exactly what the president is going to say, because at that point he may as well just come along and sign a piece of paper and he's irrelevant if the news has already been broken. Now, I also want to draw your attention to the fact that PP 10014 and 10052, they're not the biggest deal on the president's plate. The reason for the delay being related to Alejandro Mayorkas and the confirmation hearings for him and the vote for him. The reason that has been important is that Mayorkas is going to be given the job of dealing with some really serious issues that happened at the Mexico border. President Biden has talked about these things as being criminal acts taken by the Trump administration officials at the Mexico border, resulting in hundreds or thousands of families being separated, to the position where there are now several hundred children where they literally can't locate the parents. They literally don't know whose parents these kids are. And so those kids are being looked after in American government custody while they try and figure out who the parents are of these children. It's an absolutely disgusting and disgraceful position, which was a very hot topic during the election process and really resonated with a number of, with a lot of people, because Americans don't want to be labeled as people that will separate families at the border and take children away and make those children effectively orphans, by taking them away. Now, many of you right now, I'm sure, are saying, yeah, but, talk about family reunification. That's really what, a lot of that is to do with 10052 and 10014. Absolutely. But this was a clear and immediate action which Joe Biden has described as criminal. And so he quite rightly wants to look into that and is forming a task force that Mayorkas is going to be looking into. So here he's sorting out his positions a little bit and making clear in the immigration fact sheet, the bad things that he's seeing in immigration. There's lots to address in immigration. The section I think is relevant to us, and remains a source of some hope for me that we'll see some of these two bans revoked, is this section here: restoring faith in our legal immigration system and promote integration of new Americans. And it goes on to talk about legal immigration. Well, legal immigration, just like he removed the Muslim ban, the Muslim ban people are still blocked by 10014 if they're immigrants, or 10052 if they're coming in through those non-immigrant visas. So he still has a problem of an injustice he needs to correct. And so I hope that he's going to take immediate action on the bans still, and won't just talk about directing an agency review, which is you'll read here, this executive order. Let me just read here. The executive order also directs a series of actions to restore the US asylum system. Right, let's talk about asylum, including by rescinding and directing agency review of a host of Trump administration proclamations. A review means let's look at those things, right? It means we're not going to take action today. We're going to direct you to take action at some point in the future, or we're going to direct a group of people to look into something. That won't give us immediate relief if they just look into things, right? I mean, they've had long enough now to look into it. They should know, and I believe Biden does know. I think there's been some last-minute changes. Jen Psaki yesterday referred to some changes being made as recently as yesterday to the plans for today. So it could be that they've made a change from the position that we saw, sort of hinted at the other day. It could be that they've made a change. It could be that we don't see 10052 and 10014 revoked today. It could be, right? So let's talk about, if that happens, what will happen next. Let me switch off this this screen. Right. So if that happens, what will happen? If 10014 and 10052, and as I say, I'm less concerned about 52. I know many of you will be concerned about that, but 14 is my concern. If they're not revoked today, then we have two main lawsuits. There's several lawsuits that are looking to attack these, but we have two main lawsuits that have a very near-term, very immediate possibility to remove the problem. So 10014 is blocking DV 2020 holders sitting in various countries, sometimes, Jules, I'm talking to you, and others, sitting in places blocked with a legal visa, but unable to use that visa to enter the USA. That's blocked by 10014. And some people are also hampered by the Schengen bans, but that's a quarantine issue. 10014 absolutely blocks them from entering, right? So if that if 1004 is allowed to remain for a few more days, then the Gomez case, which had a status hearing last week, could fairly quickly result in reissuances of those visas. Now, I personally don't want to see reissuances. I mean, that's my fallback position. But reissuances will cost people more money. And so, I think you've paid enough. You've gone through your process. You should be able to enter. However, if the price of the green card means paying the fees again, then so be it. You'll pay the fees again. Nobody would sit there and say, "Oh, well, I'm not prepared to pay that last $330 or the medical fees." Nobody would be foolish enough to say they won't do that. You'll find a way. But for a lot of people, that will be a painful extra expense, and I don't want that to happen. I would rather have 10014 revoked, right? Either by Biden today or by legal action. So let's talk about how that step happens. So Gomez, I believe, would take care of getting reissuances for the DV 2020 folks that have already expired or are about to expire, right? So I'm pretty sure, and if you've listened to the hearing last week, and if you've listened to Charles Cook and the other lawyers, I can't see a scenario where we can't get reissuances done. I think it will happen, but we'll have to wait and see. So then, how do we get 10014 blocked? Well, that will be more about the Annunziato case, and Judge Seaborg held a hearing. I forget the date now, which is rare, but about a week and a half ago. And at that time, he was very much aware that the immigration announcements were coming up, right? And so he didn't want to make a decision about blocking 10014 when Biden was about to remove the 10014, right? He didn't want to sort of preempt that decision or make an order that he didn't have to make. If now Biden doesn't remove that today, then I'm sure the lawyers will go to Seaborg and ask for a status hearing and ask him to provide some relief on 10014. So as Greg Siskind put it on Twitter this morning, 10014 is going to go one way or the other. It's going to go. Either Biden removes it today, or in the next couple of days or something. Either it goes by Biden, forcing it to go, or it will go through one of the lawsuits that we have going. And there's also, there's the other lawsuits as well. So there are plenty of ways that 10014 is going to be removed. I don't believe for 1 minute it's going to be in place until the end of March. So that's where we stand, right? So right now people are panicking. I'm seeing Twitter's blowing up with people panicking and saying all sorts of defeatist, negative things. Oh, Joe Biden's destroyed my dream. Come on, guys, 5 hours to wait. Less than 5 hours now. 4 hours, 45 minutes to wait. Have some patience at the last minute here. There's no point in making sort of wild, negative, statements at this point. You're frustrated. I get it. You're angry. I get it. Some of you are sitting in bad positions and worrying about how you're going to put food in your mouth, etc., because you've given up jobs or you're in a different country. I get it. I understand all of that. I'm not at all ignoring any of that pain. But you've waited this long. You can wait another 5 hours, right? That's my perspective. Now, will it be exactly 5 hours? Here's how it will go tonight. At 5 p.m., there will be some sort of televised procedure where Biden signs some executive orders. We sometimes don't see him sign all the executive orders. If you think back to the first day, he had a stack like that on his desk, enormous stack of actions he took on day one. And he, in front of the reporters, he signed 3 of those. And then the staff ushered out the reporters, and he continued to sign the other executive actions. So there's a bit of a televised show that will be reported on some news agencies, etc. But the actual orders are published within a few hours to the White House website. So although I'm saying let's wait 5 hours, I certainly hope to have, and I expect to have, clear indication, reporting from various avenues, let's say by 6 p.m. Eastern time zone tonight, so maybe 6 hours from now. But we'll see the actual orders and the writing of the orders, later on this evening. Okay, so I'm hoping that that's clear. I'm hoping that that is making sense to you, and I'm asking you to be a little bit more patient and just a little calm until tonight. There has never been a guarantee here. I could be wrong, right? But I still remain hopeful that 10014 will be included in tonight's section. And I think if you'd have asked me yesterday, I'd have said 90% certain that it would be included. If you ask me today, I'm more like 60-40, right? Yes, my confidence has been knocked in my thought that, but and other people have just discounted it, saying it's not going to be in tonight's orders. So it may not be. But as I say, I'm not particularly surprised that we don't know absolutely everything that Biden plans to do this evening. That's not a surprise to me. Okay, that was the main thing. I wanted to say, Jules. Let me answer. So I just saw your question pop up here. Is there a possibility that a journalist would ask me about the bans at the press conference? You're right, Jules. I should have mentioned this. It's so odd that it's never been mentioned. It's not really odd that it's never been mentioned, actually. A lot of people keep saying that. Why isn't it mentioned? Like I explained earlier, Biden doesn't. I mean, Biden is the president. He doesn't want to be just a figurehead. He wants to actually show that he's taking actions, and his staff are going to be very concerned to make sure that that is the case. You don't want to, make your boss irrelevant, right? And so, it's very important that that he is seen to be taking the actions, not he is the person just rubber stamping what Jen Psaki said, right? That's not how they want it to appear. So it's not surprising. But your question, Jules, is a really good one. Jen Psaki, the press secretary, will be having a conference, another live briefing at 1:30 p.m. Eastern. That's about 2 hours from now. They normally last about an hour. That's televised. It will be on YouTube, and you can look it up as press briefings live today, something like that. White House press briefings live today. So you can watch that. I watched yesterday's completely from end to end, and the transcript of that briefing is then made available later on within a few hours. So you can see all of the questions that were asked by the reporters and what the answers were. So it is possible that a reporter might ask, specifically about 10014. So I expect Jen Psaki would still dodge that question, as she did yesterday. I expect she would still dodge that even at that point. But we'll see. We'll see if somebody asks the question and what's said, right? So yes, the actions are due to be signed at 5 p.m. Eastern time. Whatever actions he's taking, and that's what we're talking about now. We don't know what actions he's taking. So that's 5 p.m. Eastern time, which is about 5 hours, 40 minutes from now. And like I say, it probably will take an hour or so after that. So, don't be asking me at 1 minute past 5, what has he signed? I won't know. I'll be watching. I'll be trying to figure out what he's signing. Okay. So have a little patience there. But is it possible that he doesn't remove the entire ban, but makes an exception to those who have visas issued already? No, he's not at that level of detail. He is not thinking about DV lottery winners. This sort of question comes from your perspective that it's the most important thing in your life. It's not the most important thing in the President of the United States' life. It's just not. I'm sorry if that disappoints you, but that's not the way he's thinking about things, right? So he's not trying to deal with the minutiae of whether someone is sitting there with a visa valid or not. He knows the general perspective, I'm sure, and he can see the injustice that 10014 or 10052 have created. But he's not sitting there wondering about whether Jules is sitting in Mexico drinking Mai Tais and mojitos. He's not thinking about that, right? I mean, that's not the perspective, Leandro. Sorry, Jules, I'm not trying to make out that you're just getting drunk, but I hope you are. All right, so, okay. Please come live and update us. Yeah, it's going to be late at night for many of you, but probably around about 6 p.m. Eastern, so it'll be in the afternoon. Certainly I don't think I'll be able to contain myself if he does remove the bans. I'll be straight on camera. Okay. What about the 55,000 visas for DV 2021? We're only going to have 6 or maybe 5 months of processing if we're lucky at this point. That's not enough time to do 55,000 visas. So, we've got a problem there. We're probably going to have to challenge that. But I don't know whether we're going to be able to get them all issued or not. If you look at previous years and you look at how many visas were issued, there are some years when they didn't go to 55,000, even when there were more people left waiting. So, for example, I think it was DV 2015. 2015 was I think it was 2015. Was a bit of a nasty year for me because I was able to mathematically predict, and I've talked to many of you about mathematical predictions as opposed to reality before. In 2015, I was mathematically able to predict that they had enough visas to issue all of the remaining African visas. And in the end, they put a finite number in, a cutoff number. And I couldn't understand at all why they'd done that. It made no logical sense to me. It still doesn't make any logical sense to me because my math was right. And if you look at the numbers now, which of course, sometime later we now have the numbers, you can see my math was correct, right? Which just proved to me in DV 2015, so several years ago, that mathematical calculations are all very well and good, but they don't take into account other factors. And, it could be that the embassies, I don't know, whatever caused it that year. But the point was, I had told people mathematically, you're safe. I'd calculated it precisely. My calculations were absolutely correct, as proven later. And I was still wrong, right? Because the government, for whatever reason, decided to under-issue in that year. There was no logical reason why. They could easily have covered everybody. So, it's just the way it works out. Okay, what about the Curtis Morrison post or about it? Oh, okay, that I think, Laurentia, Curtis Morrison in that post, I did see it. It was an irrelevant thing. It was just an order made by a judge for the government lawyers to have a little bit more time. Doesn't mean anything particularly, and I think where'd I go? Okay, I think I'm back. Hopefully I'm back. So yeah, don't worry about the Curtis Morrison post. It's not such a big deal. All right, a couple of quick questions. I have some work to do, but I did want to do this video, so I'm going to look through and just take a couple of quick questions. Is it possible to recognize DV 2021 winners as DV 2022 winners thus omitting this year and moving them to the next one? No, can't happen. It's not legal. Again, this comes from a mindset where you're thinking about your own situation and you're not thinking about what controls that. And no, it's not possible. It's not going to happen. Don't expect that. And no lawyer is going to be able to get that happening. DV 2022 will go ahead. There will be winners announced in May, and they will not be the same winners mostly. as DV 2021 folks. It's not going to be like they're going to replace them. Nothing like that. That's not going to happen. It's not how it works. This is a process that's described by laws, not by what we want, right? So he's the president who should take out the PP word, not judge, and I hope he will do. Yeah, I would prefer Joe Biden does it. I would be disappointed a little bit in Joe Biden if he doesn't. But, you know, a lot of people, you know, there were flags for Trump. There was, you know, marches for Trump. People driving around in trucks. If you live in America, you'll know what I mean. There were rallies for Trump. Trump had a rally and thousands of supporters turned up to support him, right? Not a brain cell between them, but thousands of people would turn up, big rah-rah, right? And so Trump supporters asked Biden supporters why we don't have the same thing. It's because Biden is not a god to us. Biden is not a film star or, he's just the president. I just expect him to act in a presidential way. I expect him to employ wisdom and logic and science in his decisions and decency and character, you know, personal character in his decisions. That doesn't mean I'm going to love everything he does. I'm going to disagree with him sometimes, and that's what adults do. And unlike Trump supporters, I'm not going to put a flag up in front of my house saying that anything Biden does is okay, because it's not going to be okay all the time. I'm not going to love every decision, and you have to understand that. So, you know, we're not talking about following film stars here. This is not football teams. This is, you know, nothing like that. This is about, you know, presidential behavior is a lot different to film stars, right? Biden is hesitating to take actions with removing the bans because of actual economic crisis caused by COVID-19. That's a heavy responsibility. We understand that. Thank you. That's the right sort of perspective, Youssef. In this case, I would say, you know, I've tried to explain the scale of horrors that Trump did from one end of the scale to the other. The Muslim ban at this end of the scale was clearly bigoted hatred and nothing more than that. There was no logic to it. It was about, you know, fulfilling an election process promise that he made to his bigoted idiot, you know, humans. The Schengen ban at the other end has some logic to it, and without proper measures in place to deal with the problem that the Schengen ban tries to deal with, then it has to stay. And I agree with that, and I understand that. The 10014 is in between those two things. It has no logical basis. It supposedly was about employment, and that's just bullshit, frankly. So the reasoning behind it is more like the Muslim ban. It's just about bigotry. But I agree with you, Youssef. It's slightly better written, and so on the face of it, it appears to be about protecting the economy in the USA, which is a difficult thing for the president to undermine. But nevertheless, it's the wrong thing, and because of the bigotry involved in it, I expect it to be gone. And I would be disappointed if Biden doesn't take action on that and doesn't see it that way. But ultimately, there's a lot on his plate. I mean, 445,000 people dead as of now, right? You know, you can't underestimate the importance of what he's got to do on that and the economy, etc. Those are the number one priorities. Okay, so thanks for your comment, Youssef. At the moment, sorry, I can't pronounce your name, but right now, with 5 hours before this thing, why would you fill it out right now? Just wait for a few more days and see where we stand in a few days, and then make your decision. Should have sent me to the phone press conference. No, that's true. I wouldn't let him react. I would ask that question. You're absolutely right, Dennis. Okay. If we consider the worst case scenario, could you help us please about the possible resolution date from the lawsuits? Yeah, good question. I would expect Meta has been very he showed the other day he definitely understands and is worried about the people whose visas are expiring. So I think he would take fast action on that once prompted, and there will be another status hearing, scheduled about that to figure that out, right? So I think Meta would actually act fairly quickly, which is important for DV 2020 people with visas issued. The whole DV 2020 case won't be decided until mid-March, and we may not be able to act on that until April. But in terms of the DV 2020 reissuances, I believe Meta would act pretty quickly. Let's call it a week to 10 days, right? If you want a timeline, if you want to, a guesstimate of the timeline. Seaborg, the judge in the Annunziato case, also is waiting for this news. He's waiting to hear about that. He was asking the government lawyers whether they had any information about what was going to be announced. So he is thinking about that, and he has had enough time now to consider all the other aspects of the case. And so I wouldn't be surprised if he's ready to make a decision, but would have to write that decision after the announcement, or lack thereof, today of the revocation of 10014. So, maybe that would be a week, perhaps 10 days, something like that as well. So one or the other of the things I would expect to have, by mid-February at the latest. Which saves the majority, should save the majority of visas. The visas reissued, it was September 4th that we got permission, to restart. So not many of the visas should be expiring prior to early March. Early March is when they start to expire. Very early March, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, it could be around those dates. So it would still be just enough time. And I would suggest that then you get on the plane immediately once it's revoked, as soon as we know it's been blocked or revoked, right? So that's the timeline. Bear in mind also that Annunziato case, that would be an injunction that he would give, or possibly a PI, or possibly just an order, a federal order. So that's roughly the timeline there. Bundix, I don't know what question you're answering there, Bundix, but you're normally pretty good at answering, so I'll just assume you've answered correctly. We understand that JP has a lot of stuff to do, things to fix, but our time is running out. What is your opinion if the visa expires before the PP ends? Yeah, so some people will have already had visas expire because for medical reasons their visas were short expiry dates. So I believe those will be reissued. We had visas expire in May of last year that were reissued in September. So there's nothing to say that the reissuance has to be made while the visa is live, right? But what there's this policy that that talks about the issuance of visas in a fiscal year. It doesn't actually cover the reissuance of visas is what that's how the lawyers are arguing that. So Chuck Cook was saying reissuances are not governed by that end of year deadline. So he's trying to make it that Judge Seaborg or Judge Mehta can make a very easy decision about that, and that the government might even, if you listen to the Meta conference, I think it was Benton York was saying that a simple order from the judge would be enough, and they could just fix this problem straight away, and that all sides could agree to that. York seemed to be very open to dealing with the problem of reissuances immediately. Right, so I think that there are people in the government discussing that and trying to figure out what they'll do. So even if visas were to expire, they could be reissued later. But it would be pretty bloody annoying for people like Judy Jules in Mexico, who've been sitting there because of the Schengen ban, to then be told, okay, you're going to have to come back and do that all again some other time. Right. I mean, I'm sure, Jules, you don't want to hear that. So, and I'm using Jules as an example just because her story resonates with me, and gutting. Anyway, when will the next court date? Yeah, okay. So just talked about that. Wouldn't it be fair to have more time Yeah, so Tammy, this is something that they might be able to do, but bearing in mind, Tammy, that that actually hasn't been achieved in DV 2020. You say just like DV 2020 has been continued till now. No, DV 2020 hasn't been continued until now. It's been held open in this really painful period of waiting. DV 2020 people that are waiting will tell you, I'm quite sure, that this has been a painful few months. So they're on the hook, waiting, constantly hearing, March, the final decision. The 9,095 visas were reserved, but they're not guaranteed to be issued. And the judge wasn't sure that he has the right to tell the government to issue them after the deadline. So, DV 2020 will be the test of that, and we'll find out the answer in March. But we wouldn't want to put DV 2021 into that same position. What we might want to do is, if we don't have enough time to process all the cases, the lawyers are going to argue that there should be another number of visas set aside for reissuance or issuance rather later. But as I say, I don't even know technically if that's possible. And the judge doesn't. And the reason I'm saying I don't know if it's possible is because that's what the judge is saying. He's saying he doesn't know if it's possible. So the lawyers have their perspective, but the judge is not, or up to now, has not been 100% convinced of that, right? So we'll have to wait and see. So I talked about this question yesterday, Umar. It is, we have to wait for the embassies as well. This is a battle, and the battle won't be over today, one way or the other. We have to continue to battle. Adjustment of status interviews have started, yes, and they're unaffected by these bans. Mr. Naz, thank you for explaining to Umar. Yeah, exactly. It's 1 a.m. here. I wonder why people are complaining. I'm financially concerned. Please let us know about the costs of making a move during the difficult times. Thank you for your time. Yeah, the costs of making the move can be expensive. I mean, I came here in 2014. I'd worked for a company previously as on a contract basis, and so I knew I was going to be able to get a job, but I came somewhat speculatively. And it took a few weeks, maybe 6 weeks or so, for me to transfer or to actually start work. And during that 6 weeks, I spent tens of thousands of dollars. Now, it's okay. I had the money. It wasn't a shock sort of thing. I was setting up a house and buying furniture and things, but so it's expensive. But you will cut your cloth according to your own budget, right? You'll find a way to make it happen. I mean, emigrating to another country is not easy. I've done it. Believe me, it's not easy. Actually, I've done it a couple of times. So it's not easy, and it's expensive, and it's draining, and it's challenging, and you take a step back in your career, and there's all sorts of negative parts about it. It's a challenge. This is not a process for someone who's not up for a challenge. You have to be sure what you're taking on. You have to be prepared to sacrifice and fight. And if you're not coming with that mindset, you won't make it. Quite simply, you won't make it. Here's another good question. Is there a possibility that Biden will extend the travel ban after March 31st? I don't think so. I don't think for 1 minute he would do that. It's not like the Schengen ban. But we'll have to wait and see. Let's wait and see. Let's get through today, shall we? Yeah, so you could have a valid visa in an expired passport, and then you'd have to travel with two passports, one which has the valid visa and one that has that is a new passport. So you can always extend your visa and just you can extend your passport and keep the other passport that has the printed visa in it. Okay, guys. National interest exceptions. Okay, NIA, how affected? It's hard. if your case is if your case is a family reunification case, for example, or an employment-based case, in both those cases, you have someone in America that is saying that they want you here. In a DV lottery case, it's different because you're self-sponsored. You may have family here, but that's not the basis of your DV lottery case. You may be a doctor, but that's not the basis of your DV lottery case, right? So some of these national interest exceptions may be possible to get, but it wouldn't be easy. And the way you would normally do it is at your original interview. You know, it's not easy to do. So okay. Oh, okay. So I read this comment. That's very rude and not true. And I wonder what's that about. So the official Afghan new songs, new sing song. You know, there's some dopey people in the world. That's all I'll say. Have a nice day. Any hopes that PPE 10014? Should we stop dreaming about it? Well, rewind to the beginning of the video. Okay. Yeah, exactly. Idiots that believe Fox News. Absolutely. Wouldn't it be fair? Yeah. So we discussed that. Okay. I get this question a lot, actually. I mean, there's a lot of Bangladeshis, I guess. Bangladesh is not going to be back in the lottery this time, nor is Nigeria, nor is Britain, the country I come from, nor is China. You know, there's a lot of countries already banned from the lottery, or not banned, but not able to participate for the lottery. And Bangladesh, the reason those countries are not able to participate is that those countries already send enough immigrants to this country every year, more than 50,000 in 5 years. So that there is no reason for them to be in the diversity visa lottery, right? Diversity visa lottery is about representing underrepresented countries. So no, Bangladesh won't be back in it this year and probably never will be. Thank you. Yeah, exactly. If you I had someone the other day on Twitter said something like, "I'm not grateful." I think I mentioned this the other day. Like the same guy that says I'm not grateful for anything for Simon, like 30 seconds after I published a tweet, he's like retweeting my tweet. It's like, why are you following me? If you believe everything I say is nonsense, then why are you following me? Like, I don't know. If you don't like my YouTube channel, don't watch it. It's a free world, dude. Do what you want. You don't need to watch me. I don't know. Tim, you're absolutely right. The cult of leaders' personality is never a good thing for a nation. Absolutely, that's not. I like my leadership to be almost anonymous, right? I mean, Trump, if he's shown us anything, has shown us the danger that can come the other way. Yeah, so these is it possible questions all come under a category of I don't know. Let's wait and see. We've got now, you know, just a few hours to wait. Let's wait and see what he does. I don't think I can address that question any more clearly than that, really. Okay. We need a solution. Yep, I know. Okay. So I'm just going through to see if there's any last questions I can answer. Oh, so this is an interesting question because it's incorrect. I understand concerts and closed, they can't process visas. But what about all the DV winners in the US? Is there something they can do to let DV winners do AOS? Yeah, they already can. I've already said, and you should already know that people who are eligible to do adjustment of status can already do that. They're not blocked by the ban. You should know that if you're in that position. So, you know, you're exempt. All of the bans had wording to not, you know, to accept, you know, give an exception for those people. Yeah, talked about that. 4 years. Crazy. Yep. Last comment from Julie. When all this we can celebrate, we should have a celebration live with drinks, and we can celebrate together from around the world. Believe me, I'll be making the mojitos, Julie. Yeah, exactly. All right, so that's really what I wanted to cover today. I'm gonna end the video here. I need to do some other things. Let's keep our fingers crossed. Keep hopeful. I'm an optimist, but I'm a realistic optimist. I wouldn't say keep hopeful if I thought there was no chance. But as I said earlier, my expectation has been reduced. My expectation has taken a hit this morning just because of the fact sheet that was published that I showed you earlier. But as I say, I don't read anything in that fact sheet that says here's the limit of what was going to be done. It's just a general background document, so it doesn't mean that he's not going to sign those executive orders that we expect. We'll just have to wait and see. Okay, guys. All right. Thanks all. Keep healthy, keep happy, and Julie, go and get drunk. I'm sure it'll be okay. All right. Fingers crossed. All right. Bye.